In this video, you'll discover how to create a track design like this, super colourful in Affinity Photo. First step, create some random background, random grain. Just go to Layer and New Layer. Always need a layer in Affinity Photo, and then fill it with black. So Edit and Fill, and I'm using the secondary colour, which is currently black, and click Apply. Then go to Filters, and you can apply number of grains, a number of effects to those grains, but I'm just going to go for basic grain. So Filters, Noise, and Add Noise. Unfortunately, this only goes up to 100%. I'm not using monochromatic, I'm using colourful, and I can apply it once. But I can also repeat it, which is really useful because you can go to Filters and you can use a shortcut, repeat, add noise, and apply it a couple of times, and that creates some interesting background grain. What you can then do is you can apply some pixelization to that. So Filters, and then go to Distort and Pixelate. I'm not certain why that actually is in Distort, but it is tucked away. I would have thought it's more a color effect, but still Pixelate. And now with this, you can modify this quantization, and you can push this up to a certain level, say 93, 94, and you create all these random colourful squares. Now, I've been asked how to create just say 8 different colours. I'm not really certain that there's a way of doing that. You might try and use layer and use various things like posterize. So you go to New Adjustment and you can use these. Maybe that will reduce the colours. Please put in the comments below if you can think of a method to actually reduce this down to just a basic set of colours. I thought of ways around it, such as file and export and using GIFs. In Photoshop, I think you can do it by reducing the colour palette, but unfortunately it doesn't seem to be possible in Affinity Photo. Anyway, back to the subject. Once you've got this, what you can do is apply another effect. And a really useful one is Filters, and then just go to Blur and down here to Maximum Blur. You wouldn't think, wow, why would that do anything? As soon as you apply Maximum Blur, and you can see it creates a subtle effect initially. The radius is set to 1, but if you push this up more and more and more, and you can see what happens. It creates this lovely sort of unusual sort of maybe a maze track design. I'm not really certain how you could describe it, but a very abstract, colourful design. Now this does in many ways reduce the colours down a bit. Obviously you've got subtle blues, things, but you can see the key colours there. And now I'm using 25. You could push it further. If you push too far, you end up with this sort of effect, which you may or may not like, or you can reduce down so you get this sort of gaps between it. And click Apply. You can always try and apply it again. One great thing about Affinity Photo is you can apply it multiple times. So repeat there, and you can get this sort of effect. I'm going to undo that. But you can see you can generate other things. The next thing to do is I want to create some edge around this. And there's obviously a very limited set of commands here. Filters, Detect, and Detect Edges. You probably could use some of the other options as well, but I'm going to go with Detect Edges. And it generates this, which I think is quite nice. Creates an interesting design. And now you could apply different blurring effects. So Filters, really good one. Go to Blur and Gaussian Blur. That creates a very subtle effect, maybe like that. Or go to Filters, again, Blur, maybe Motion Blur. And that creates some nice little pulses effects like that, which I think is quite good, which you could use an overlay for images, etc. But the one I'm going to use, Filters, exact same as before. Filters, Blur, and down to Maximum Blur. And this time you can see the effect you get there. And now you can see if you reduce down the radius just slightly, maybe push it there, you could vary it, just apply it like that. Push it up, maybe make them slightly thicker, and you can, of course, the key thing is circular there. It does make a subtle difference. Personally, I prefer the circular result. It gives a nice smoothness to it. And click Apply. And then you can go to Filters and repeat Maximum Blur, and you can see you get something like that, and so on. You can, and of course you don't have to do that. You can go to Filters, Blur, and Maximum Blur. You can reduce it down. Don't have to go full on. Maybe do that. And again, you could use the edge effect as well. You can always go back to Filters and detect edges, and you get that sort of effect, which of course then, again, filters, and again go down to blur and maximum blur, and you can again increase that, and you can see you can create a whole range of quite abstract designs using this approach, and then click apply. Personally, I prefer the previous one, so I'm just going to quickly undo, but I just wanted to show you you can create some variation of this effect, this track effect. I'm going to go with that one. But also what you can do is apply other effects, of course. Maybe select the area of black here. Now, it's not particularly easy because if you try and select the black, you'll notice if you look here, it's very subtle. There's a lot of color in between there. That isn't solid black, so it's very tricky to do that. But you could try and select all this area here and then create maybe a three-dimensional depth to it. You can also turn it maybe into a pattern. So you've got this design. Obviously, it's great as an overlay. You could use this maybe as a background design. I think it's quite a nice abstract design in Affinity Photo. But now what you can do, with it selected, you can go to Layer, and then New Pattern Layer from Selection, and then resize that. Now you'll notice there's a little bit of a, obviously, seam there. Get rid of it simply by going to Mirror, and you can then move that around. Also, what you can do, you can go over here and you see you've got Pattern Layer. It's just a normal layer. You can duplicate it. So hold down the Alt Option key as long as it's selected there, drag, and then go here and you can go for, say, multiply, color burn, go through them. I think lighten creates an interesting effect. And of course, you don't have to keep it exactly the same angle. You can always select it, rotate it. So you can see then create that sort of effect, that sort of design. But let's just go back to the original one because you can also distort the design. That's another option. Filters, distort, maybe go for mirror. So you've got this mirror effect and then use that. And you can, of course, move the origin point, just simply drag like that. So this basic design that was all created from that basic grain at the start can now become something like design like this. And again, you can increase the number of mirrors, maybe go for 8 and create design like that. Again, it's all mirrored because it's a pattern layer. Click apply. Now you don't have to use it as a pattern layer. Always remove it, delete that, and apply exactly the same effects to that. So filters, then go down there to distort, and again mirror, and mirror this one. Doesn't need to be a pattern layer, maybe go for 4, like that, which does of course create a nice pattern design. You can see it will match both sides, which you can then join together, create pattern design in other ways, and maybe go with 8. 8's always a good one as well, exactly the same. And click apply. Maybe apply deform effects. You can also recolor it. You don't need to keep these colors. You might say, you know what, I prefer maybe the design to be very basic red or something like that. And you can go to layer and then down to new adjustment layer and then go through here, maybe use recolor. And you can see then get a lovely red design, or maybe change it, go for blue and greens and merge. Or undo and go back to the original design like that. But there's loads of different things you can do with this. You can still continue to work with it using filters, detect and detect edges, and then use blur and maximum blur again, or maybe some of the others as well. Now you've got very intense design there, maybe go with motion blur, and you can see you can create lovely blurring effects like that. And then push that like there and click apply. Lots and lots from basic grain noise in Affinity Photo. Hope you found this of interest. Any questions, please let me know in the comments below, a like or dislike, and also some comments and sort of things. How would you tackle this problem of like the colours, maybe reducing the colours down, maybe applying other effects? What sort of things would you do with this design? Bye.